Data binding control. Every ASP.NET Web Form control inherits a data bind method from its parent control class, which gives it an inherent capability to bind data to at least one of its properties. This is known as simple data binding or inline data binding. Simple data binding involves attaching any collection, item collection, which implements the IEnumerable interface, or the data set and data table classes to the data source property of the control. On the other hand, some controls can bind records, lists, or columns of data into their structure through a data source control. These controls derive from the base data bound control class. This is called declarative data binding. The data source controls help the data bound controls implement functionalities like sorting, paging, and editing data collections. The base data bound control is an abstract class, which is inherited by two or more abstract classes. Data bound control. Hierarchical data bound control. The abstract class data bound control is again inherited by two more abstract classes: list control, composite data bound control. The controls capable of simple data binding are derived from the list control abstract class, and these controls are bulleted list, checkbox list, drop-down list, list box, radio button list. The controls capable of declarative data binding are derived from the abstract class composite data bound control. These controls are details view, form view, grid view, record list. Simple data binding. Simple data binding involves the read-only selection lists. These controls can bind to an array list or fields from a database. Selection lists take two values from the database or the data source. One value is displayed by the list, and the other is considered as a value corresponding to the display. Choosing a data source for the bulleted list control involves selecting the data source control, selecting a field to display, which is called the data field, selecting a field for the value. Declarative data binding. We have already used declarative data binding using grid view control. The other composite data bound controls capable of displaying and manipulating data in a tabular manner are the details view, form view, and record list control. However, the data binding involves the following objects: a data set that stores the data retrieved from the database, the data provider which retrieves data from the database using a command over a connection, the data adapter that uses the select statement stored in the command object. It is also capable of updating the data in a database by issuing insert, delete, and update statements.